So, herzlich willkommen, liebe Leute, hier aus Unterföhring, der Heimat von meinem Bowling-Shop, zu einer neuen Ausgabe unseres Livestreams. Heute zu Gast CTD CEO Ronald Hickland. Hi Ron, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Ich hoffe, dass alles funktioniert. Wir hatten ein paar Probleme, den Stream aufzusetzen. Jetzt haben wir es über so versucht. Sieht ganz gut aus, dass es funktioniert. Und ich begrüße euch recht herzlich. Scorpio Star aus dem Emsland. Bianca aus Delmenhorst ist da, Andreas ist da, Fabian ist da, Grüße. Der Scorpio, was kann man von ja. Jörg ist da aus Berlin, grüß dich. Franz, Rainer, Gabi, Michael, Maybrit aus Dänemark, grüß dich. Erik ist da, Dominik ist da, Caro ist da, Carsten ist da, Markus aus der Schweiz, Marfi aus Jena, Servus, Sebastian, EMAX Fanclub aus der Schweiz, sagt guten Abend, Grüße, Sophie und Sebastian, Sophie, Servus. Dann Nurda ist da, Tom ist da. Und wie ist das so mit dem Räumen? Ich weiß nicht gerade. Money Morbe ist da aus Hanau. Und ich werde jetzt versuchen, mit dem Ron praktisch drüber zu reden, was die Stormbälle betrifft, über die Produkte, über die neuen, die auch Creating the Difference hat. Und wir versuchen mal ein bisschen Licht ins Dunkle zu bringen. Wir haben schon ein Vorgespräch geführt und da haben wir schon ein paar Sachen besprochen. Alex, ich grüße dich. Und dann legen wir jetzt einfach mal los und ich versuche ein bisschen zu übersetzen und wenn jemand was nicht versteht, bitte einfach kurz in den Chat schreiben, wenn ich es vergesse zu übersetzen. So, I just said hello to the chat and so Ron, how's everything? 2 years ago you were here, now again. How was it?
Things are good. We're growing really fast. We are actually in the middle of acquiring another facility for manufacturing, as well as we're continuing to launch new products pretty much every 4 to 6 months. So got some new products coming down the pipeline soon, and overall the business is going really well for us, and we're able to put out a lot of educational content, especially around the latest situation regarding Storm and USBC.
Yeah, that's also a main reason why we want to talk, or why I want you on my show, because you're an expert in pretty much in the bowling ball manufacturing. You've been working for Ebonite a couple of years or long, pretty much. So I know your new Creating the Difference headquarters is Hopkinsville, right?
Correct.
So you're now in pretty much back to the roots. That's where you worked, right?
Yep. I was there for almost 15 years.
So now back to the roots and now working in Hopkinsville. Hi Florian, hi Thomas. So we come direct to the point. So USBC came out at the USBC Masters with some rules. Shortly before there was a rule change, or we forbid Storm Spectre. Shortly therefore was the Purple Hammers from 2016 2017. So what we see here in Europe was, okay, the issue was they were too soft. Pretty much the Spectre, the Purple Hammers on this year's then came out, okay, over years urethane balls get softer. So that was the reason the PBA forbid urethane balls that get older than 2 years. So, and pretty much surprisingly, after the USBC Open starts, Masters, after 2 days, they came with another 6 balls with Electrify Solid, Trend 2, Wolverine, Altered Reality, UFO, Alert, and Phase 4. So that were the 6 balls. So what happened? What do you think?
Well, I mean, what we know is that USBC decided to test some additional balls after Spectre. And in the process of testing additional balls, they found more balls that they deemed soft. So they found enough balls that they deemed soft that they not only talked to Storm, but they decided that they need to come up with some sort of an agreement with Storm on how to handle those balls. You know, it's interesting because if you actually look at the FAQ data that USBC put out, they said in the data, it says flat out that the testing was suspended per the agreement, which that doesn't mean that they didn't have more balls that were soft. That just meant that they quit looking at those balls.
So they just put the agreement out, and maybe there were more balls, but we don't know.
Correct. And based on all of the information that I've seen them provide and the information that we've done with our own internal stuff, I would say that there probably are more balls out there that are soft. It's just with the way the agreement was structured, everybody said, we're going to quit, you're going to quit looking, we're going to deal with these balls in this way, and we're going to put this situation, kind of behind us. And everybody agreed. USBC agreed to that, Storm agreed to that. So, I've seen people kind of say, well, will there be more balls being banned? And they flat out said in their agreement that they were done looking at this situation.
Okay, so I just translate a little bit. So erstmal begrüße ich euch. Axel, Bowling Network Kiel ist da. Servus, Andreas ist da. Genau, liebe Leute, bitte liken, abonnieren, wer noch kein Abo da gelassen hat. Also im Prinzip habe ich die Frage gestellt, dass nach dem Spectre ziemlich überraschend 6 weitere Bälle als zu weich erkannt wurden. Nachdem zuerst die Purple Hammers von 2016, 2017, danach kamen Storm Spectre und dann eben die anderen 6 Bälle. Und im Prinzip ist es so, nachdem die Daten veröffentlicht wurden von der USBC, da waren die ersten 3 Bälle, wurden gecheckt mit Daten und danach wurde ein Agreement gemacht und die anderen 3 Bälle wurden gar nicht mehr fertig gecheckt, aber man geht davon aus, dass es mehr als diese 6 Bälle waren. Nur aufgrund des Agreements kommt es nicht zu weiteren Nachforschungen, sage ich jetzt mal. So, do you think it's a good solution with the agreement?
I mean, I don't think any of these things are really good or bad. I think they're kind of trying to do the best they can with what they got, right? I mean, in theory, the way it kind of looks, and like I said, this is just theory. I don't know this to be the fact, but the way it looks is that there were going to be enough bowling balls that were going to be bad that if they didn't figure out another way to address it, it could create all kinds of havoc, right? So I think, with the agreement that they came up with, it allows Storm to keep those balls in play, but they can't make them anymore. It allows consumers to be able to use them, minus some of the big events. The PBA players can still use them. I know when I was just watching a minute ago, Kyle was throwing a phase 4 on TV. So the PBA players can still use them. Storm is doing some pretty good rebates in terms of pro shops that, drilled these balls and people are getting new balls, giving them $50. That's pretty cool. So I think it's probably a decent solution given all the information that we have, but we don't have hard to say if it truly is the best or good solution, but based on what we have, it seems like it is a option. It's a decent option.
Okay, but compared, I don't want to criticize the solution because compared to other sports, bowling is pretty small and the industry is not really big. But if this would happen in another sport, it's not allowed. They just ban it. There wouldn't be a solution.
Right, and that's kind of why I said it's tough to say that it's good, right? Because if your rules are what they are, then you either follow them or you don't, right?
Yeah.
And that's not what's happening here. It's kind of like, well, we have to come to some sort of, other resolution because if we followed the rules, I mean, it may be catastrophic for the whole industry.
Yeah. So, and what I came up to you before we go live was, okay, how can it happen that the PBA allows the balls and just couldn't find any issues and the USBC does? How can this happen?
So it's 2 different organizations and 2 different sets of rules. So USBC, the specification is 73. Your ball has to be 73 or harder to be used or be approved. The PBA doesn't follow that rule, right? The PBA follows a rule of 70. They say in PBA competition, if the balls are 70 or higher, then they're allowed in PBA competition. And that's just a function of them being 2 different organizations and then being able to have different sets of rules. Also, the PBA recognizes, as USBC said, that really their test is in their controlled environment and it's virtually impossible to replicate their test. You don't have the same air temperature and the same this and the humidity and everything else. So they said, well, basically, when we do that, we're going to be the standard. and the standard is in Arlington, Texas, blah, 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 blah. Well, PBA said, well, we need to be able to do something when we check bowling balls in the field, but we go all over the place. You know, right now they're in Florida, and you know, a couple of weeks ago they were in Wisconsin. So
yeah,
theirs is 70. They said that if the ball is 70 or higher, it passes, which these balls are higher than 70. So all those balls are still allowed to be used in PBA competition.
okay. So I just explain it to the people. Also die Frage war, warum hat die PBA die Bälle jetzt zugelassen, entgegen der dass die USBC eine Härte von 73 als Minimum in ihren Regeln hat, die PBA aufgrund von verschiedenen äußeren Umständen das so nicht befolgen kann und deswegen dort 70 als Richtwert hat, was natürlich einen signifikanten Unterschied macht, weil alle Bälle, die jetzt getestet wurden, irgendwo um 72 und ein bisschen was lagen. Und damit alle den Test der PBA bestanden haben, aber nicht der USBC. Und um das einfach machbar zu machen, ist das der Grund, warum die PBA es erlaubt und die USBC nicht. Thomas, deine Frage komme ich später noch zu. Und jetzt fragt Bowling Network Kiel, ist die Methode der Messung nicht geändert worden? So I have a question in the chat now. He asked, is the measurement procedure from the USBC changed in the last months?
No, so the procedure is online. It is published. It has to be published online, and they have not made a change from that procedure, at least in a 2-year window, maybe a year to 2-year window. So it's not been recent. Like, it hasn't been a recent thing.
But how can it happen that when Storm checked it, they were good and USBC not? That's also a rumor. What did you say?
That's the thing, though, right? So there are two different, you know, Storm's going to check them in their facility in their way, which may or may not be the same way that USBC does it. USBC does have the ability to work with Storm to make sure that the two durometers are calibrated, and they say that's part of their SOP too. That they give that. So basically, Storm checks balls, gives them the USBC. USBC checks balls, and then they share the information to see how far they are off. And then based on how far they are off, they can make adjustments to make sure that they're on the same, calibrate off each other, right? That's what's supposed to happen. Here's what's interesting to me about this whole situation. And like I said, I don't have any proof. So I'm not saying that I know that this is the case, but what I would say is that the rules were changed in 2020 going into effect this year, but for Storm to kind of come up to those rules, Storm would have had to make some changes to their cover stocks. If you go look right now on Storm's website and look at their bowling balls, a lot of their bowling balls say that the hardness is between 73 and 75. Well, when the spec was 72, that was probably okay. But now the spec is 73, that's asking for a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's pretty much riding on a bad horse. That's and the rule change came with the plugged balls, with the extra hole rule. That was the same rule change thing. And also das Problem, was Ron sieht, ist einfach das, dass Storm ihre Oberflächen nicht geändert hat aufgrund der Regeländerung von 72 auf 73. Wenn man jetzt auf die Storm-Webseite geht, steht dort halt einfach, dass ihre Bälle zwischen 73 und 76 Härte haben. Und dadurch, dass 73 die Grenze ist, ist es halt ein Reiten auf einem sehr schmalen Grat. So that's pretty much the same issue what Motive had with the Jekyll when they have the core on differential on 060, what was pretty much so it's a riding on a bad horse. Yeah, it's
I mean, you're asking for trouble when you do that. If you're playing at the limit, you're asking for trouble. And then to be fair, if you were Storm and you had made high roads, which is R2S, which is one of these cover stocks that's banned now. If you had made high roads, R2S, and you had that cover stock for 12, 13, 14, 15 years, are you going to change it?
That doesn't make sense, because actually I saw your video on your channel. So people, just check out Ron's YouTube channel. So where you have the Eruptions Pro. I don't remember the exact numbers, but maybe you can help me out on this. I think one was 74 and the other one was 76.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Yeah, and the 76 one goes dead straight, and the 74 was pretty good. So, and you didn't see a difference in the two balls from outside. You just can measure the hardness. And I can imagine if Storm would change the R2S hybrid, for example, to 74, that makes a huge difference in the high road, for example, especially in the high road. That's the most popular R2S. So, do you think they will shut down these balls now?
No, I think they're going to have to figure out how to make them harder. And there's two ways you can do it. In my video, I said there's one way you can do it called changing the index, but there's actually two ways you can do it. You can harden the balls by adding more catalyst. More catalyst will make the reaction happen faster, which in turn will make the ball cure faster. So that happens too. I think one of two things. They're either going to change the index, or which is the ratio or the balance of the chemicals that are used to make it, or they're going to stick more catalyst in it to get it to harden up. But they're going to have to do something. And if you do something, more than likely that means your balls are going to roll the same as they do now, right? Like, I don't like in my history with that. I don't think when you make little changes like this that those do not come without changes to the performance as well.
Yeah, but when you see, for example, now on the other hand, you have now Brunswick, Motive, Big Bowling, and the other brands who have the more than 73. They don't have the issue, and they still get the balls rolling. So there must be a procedure. So
yeah, but at the same token, I would argue that Storm has a very unique ball motion that the other companies don't have. I mean, Storm is known for this kind of long and angular shaped ball motion, and really nobody else has that, not to the degree that they have it. So is that a function of their cover stock formulations? Well, yeah. Now, if you're going to have to change the cover stock formulation, does that change with it? We're going to have to see. Hopefully not. I mean, I hope not, because I like Storm balls, right? Some of my favorite balls are Storm balls. So I hope that they don't change. But knowing from the chemical side of things how these things kind of work, it would not surprise me if they have to make some sort of chemical change to those actual formulations.
So, and now that's more a political question now. What do you think? Was it the right decision from the USBC to came out in USBC Open Championship and USBC Masters during the tournaments?
So that's a little bit trickier, right? I think it depends on what side of the fence you stand on. On one side of the fence, you say, well, the moment we notice that there's a problem, we've got to act, right? So from that standpoint, then yeah, you do it whenever you know. They knew it at this particular time. It just so happened to correspond negatively with the two events that were going on, and it impacted them. But that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is to go, well, from a chaos standpoint, it's probably best for us to wait. They chose to do it the other way. Is one way right or wrong? I don't know. I just think that there wasn't really a good answer there. And it depends on what side of the coin you want to stick on.
Yeah, the problem I see there is they're already, especially for the USBC Masters, one day was already played. So when they play with one of these balls, now talking starts, maybe you wouldn't score with another ball. But also the talkings would start if they wait until the end of the tournament and then say, hey, you wouldn't win if you do another ball. So that's, I think it's a difficult thing, but when they did an agreement already, they don't come out at the time when they recognize it. It must have before, because they were already in talks. So maybe they just wait too long. Actually,
yeah, and that's part. I mean, that's a very legitimate possibility that's how it actually occurred too. So I don't know. I mean, it's a tough situation. I don't think there was really any good solutions that were coming out of this situation. Any way you look at it, like, it's not good for Storm. It isn't good for USBC. It's not good for the bowlers. But at the same token, I mean, they've got rules, and USBC's job is to enforce those rules. So once they knew that there was a problem, they had to do something.
Yeah, but when you see it that way, it's also okay. In any other sport, they wouldn't allow these 6 balls anymore.
Correct. They'd just be gone. That'd be the end of the story.
Yeah, and that's if it would happen in soccer, in football, in ski jumping, whatever, they just forbid it. Okay, you cannot use it anymore. Done. There wouldn't be a deal. So that's kind of. I'm a Storm guy also, so I know how hard this hits, especially for the company. But I think it's I don't know if this is the right decision for the integrity of the sport. Oh, can you hear me?
I understand. Yeah, I understand completely what you're saying. So it's not good. Like, there's just no good way to describe it, right? From an integrity standpoint, if you were going strictly off of integrity, yeah, you probably would have just banned the balls completely. Like, they're done. That's the end of it. And you wouldn't have settled. You would have went to go look after all of them, right? From an integrity standpoint. Obviously, there is a financial impact to that, and that's kind of why we probably are where we are. Like, that's probably why we're halfway somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, the thing is, normally what I would expect, if you do it correctly 100%, normally they have to recheck every ball what is on the market right now. Doesn't matter what company, just recheck it again and then do a solution. But then it can be the end for most of the manufacturers we have. That's the problem. We don't have enough manufacturers for bowling balls. So actually, there are, how many we have? 5? 4 or 5? In the States, it's 4.
Really. It's probably 4, right? You got Brunswick, Storm, Motive, Big Bowling.
And in Korea, the Legends or whatever.
Korea makes all the Legends balls. I mean, so that's 5. That's 5 total right there.
Yeah, and if one is gone, that's pretty hard impact.
And the one that the one that we're talking about being gone is arguably the biggest one in terms of market share too. So that's even worse of a situation.
Yeah, especially for the professionals and everything. They paying a lot of rents out there, and a lot of salaries and everything. So it's a tough thing right now. So, what is your expectation? What Storm does? They will fix it. They will stay behind their agreement and come out, get back the trust.
Oh yeah. I think they're gonna do the right thing by the customer. There's nothing that would indicate that they're not gonna do that. They've offered the $50 drill credit for pro shops that drill these balls. That's a big deal. They're offering anybody who wants to return the balls the ability to return the ball. That's a big deal. And they're pulling those balls out of the field. So all the balls that are coming back, they're taking them out of the field completely. So I do think that they're going to do what the best they can to rectify it by the consumer and kind of bite the bullet on this one and kind of move on.
Okay. What do you think what happened with the balls that are already out, so already sold, already produced?
So, I mean, you've got 2 options. You can hold on to it. Those balls are fine to be used. You hold on to them until they're dead or done or whatever, and then throw them away. Or you can send them back. But at any rate, they're all going to end up. I mean, that ball, all 6 of those balls are discontinued, right? So that means no more are being produced. So that ball already is on its way out, so to speak. All 6 of them are on their way out.
Yep. Okay. So, Daumen hoch nicht vergessen, genau, sagt der Ding grad, Scorpio. Do you have any idea? Franz asked, do you have an idea why only Storm balls are affected?
Yeah, so this is a speculation too. I don't have any proof of this, but my assumption is what happened is that USBC was investigating the hammer situation, but in order to be fair, they had to go look at everybody's bowling balls, right? You couldn't just look at hammers, you gotta look at everybody's. When they happened to come across the Storm bowling balls, Spectre, they were like, oh, we got a problem here. Cool, let's just ban it and move on. But we've got to look at all the balls, like all of the companies from all the balls that are, in distribution as part of our process.
Yep.
And when they did that, they found these other ones. And that's how come it ended up being a storm situation, even though I don't think that they were looking specifically at storm balls. They were looking at everybody's bowling balls. It just so happened that the storm ones are the ones that, fell below.
Fall through, yeah. Thomas, ich grüße dich. So Jan says, so it's pretty much Storm's mistake. It's their mistake that they don't have calibrated their durometer, and yeah, that's pretty much what he said. So Thomas, hallo, Hagen, grüß dich. Chris, grüß dich. Daniel, servus. Gabi meinte mal Brit mit Stringquiz, und mit welchem Bowlingmann hast du gespielt? Was meinst du, Gabi? Dann habe ich es überlesen. Werner, grüß dich. Werner Laun ist da. So, Jan, he's a pretty, ein sehr treuer Zuschauer, pretty good watcher. I don't know the word now in English. So, do you ever hear about the no gutter cleaner?
No gutter cleanup?
Yeah, the cleaner. That's pretty much never hear? So,
no.
Okay, I will send you one, and you can try it out. So, because it's a good friend of, he's a German guy, he's a chemical, and he just produces this cleaner. Andreas asked, do you have an idea how many balls were not approved in some from USBC? Is it the 7 balls? And the purple hammers, right, from 16 and 17, that's right now the issues.
Yep. So it's the 7 balls, 6 recent ones, Spectre and Purple Hammer are the ones that have had their, well, we got to be careful about that, right? Because technically they're not the same category. Purple Hammer 16 and 17 and Spectre have been revoked, meaning that they've lost their ability to be used at all for any reason. The other 6 are not revoked, they're just excluded from national competitions. So it is definitely a different situation for those other 6 bowling balls, but those are the balls that are all in question.
Yeah, the 6 balls pretty much for Europe. From the European standpoint, any of these 6 balls, just the Spectre cannot use anymore. Any other 6 balls can be used. So the Trend 2, Wolverine, Altered Reality, Electrify Solid, Phase 4, and U4 Alert still can be used. They are totally legal. They will not get illegal soon. This will not happen because there's an agreement between Storm and the USBC. Because a lot of people ask me also in the Pro Shop, hey, what happens now? Is it possible that they get banned in 2 months? And I said, no, it's not possible. And I think that's the agreement pretty much.
Correct.
So
the agreement kind of says that they're going to let them, they can't make any more of them, but they're going to remain on the approved list. So that's what it says.
Ja, also diese Bälle werden nicht verboten werden, die bleiben dabei. Diese 6 Bälle, die sind einfach, das ist der Deal zwischen Storm und der USBC. Oh, Thomas. So, do you ever played on string pins?
Yes.
So, one guy in the chat has his first league day on string pins. So, what is your experience with them?
Well, I would say be prepared to watch some unique hits. Like it is kind of interesting. They don't fall the same way as free fall pins. And it can be advantageous and it can work against you sometimes, but it's fun. I think the game is still a lot of fun with string pins. So definitely just coming kind of with an open mind and be prepared to have some fun and see some kind of unique things happen. Okay.
What is your, pretty much in Europe, there's a pretty hard direction. I don't know any center the last 2, 3, 4 years what was built without string pins. They're all string pins. I think the States is different. Is it different? I don't know.
Yeah, it's still different right now, but it's definitely it's starting to change. You're starting to see more and more of the new centers adopt string pins, primarily because it's hard to get help. It's hard to get mechanics. So the string pins kind of really eliminate a lot of the issues that you can get with the conventional pin setters. So it's a good alternative. So you are seeing some of the newer places start to do it. I wouldn't say that it's fully embraced by any means, but it's definitely starting to become more and more popular.
Okay, what do you think is the future?
I think it has a place. I don't know that it's going to like replace free fall pins, but I think it definitely has a place. I think if I was building a entertainment center right now, I probably would put the string pins in. If I was building a traditional bowling center or for leagues and tournaments and that kind of stuff, I probably wouldn't put them in. So I think they're going to have a place, but I don't know that it's going to take over completely.
But I think when you do the math on energy and everything, it's pretty hard to put aside because they're cheaper in buying, they're cheaper in energy, they're cheaper with employees, they're cheaper in spare parts. So there's not really a reason for free fall.
It's tricky, right? So it all goes back to kind of how you view it. So if you're more of a purist, right, then they don't fall the same. Like the hang up is they don't fall the same, and certain hits don't fall like they should, and other hits fall more than what they shouldn't. That's why I think USBC is looking at a kind of an alternative way to classify them too, because they could not get string pins to replicate what happens in the free fall. So it kind of depends on what school of thought you're from. You know, if you're more of a traditionalist, there's probably no way you're adopting string pins. And if you're more of a realist, or you're more current, or are concerned about these other things that come into play, then that becomes kind of a no-brainer.
So don't you think that the falling of the pins on free fall lanes, we are just so used to see how they fall that it's just I don't know the word. It's just ungewohnt. Lieber Chat, was bedeutet ungewohnt auf Englisch? I just need to find the word.
No problem.
Unusual. Isn't it just unusual to see the pins falling like they do? Isn't it just that kind of thing? Because now you get a strike on free fall pins and don't get it on string pins, but it's also the other way around. So at the end, the score stays the same.
You're right there, but the thing to remember is that what USBC looks at is scoring pace, right? So when they approve or disapprove pins, it's based on its ability to fall within the normal scoring window. Well, if string pins are 1.2 pins higher or half a pin higher, doesn't matter, then that's going to impact your average.
Yep.
So that's kind of why, it's kind of, well, you got to kind of decide. And who knows? I mean, who's to say that they can't improve on the technology of string pins to make it more like free fall, but still be string? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Guten Abend, Brunswick TV. Yeah, that's right. It's very adventurous. One guy says. Ich meinte eigentlich, wie viele Bälle insgesamt schon nicht zugelassen wurden. Das heißt, du meinst, wie viele Bälle... Okay, there's a question. What do you think? How many balls this 6 or 7 balls impacts worldwide?
Like what the total number of balls are?
Yeah.
It's a guess, right? It's a guess, but if I had to guess, I'd probably say right around 120,000 balls. If I had to guess.
Yeah. I guessed 250,000, but it's that's what I thought, so I don't know. So what pretty much happens here in Germany, especially in the German Federation, they run out of free fall centers. We have a lot of them still, but string pins run over just in numbers. So I think it will get approved, especially in Europe, in the future, pretty soon. Unfamiliar. Danke, Brunswick. Jan, ich habe jetzt noch nie gehört, dass ein Ball die Zulassung entzogen. Doch, Jan? So, one guy said he never heard that a ball lost his USBC approval. And in my mind came into, it was the Jekyll and the Jekyll and Carnage that were revoked. And I don't know what happened with, was the Game Breaker was legal, the first one, right? But there was some issues when they changed the differential and everything.
Well, the issue with Game Breaker was RG. The RG was too low. So when they remade it, we just raised the RG to fall within the new spec.
Yeah, but the first one doesn't get revoked. It was just a rule change, right?
Yeah, just a rule change. Yep. Didn't get revoked, just a rule.
Yeah. So the only balls I know, besides these 7 balls, one ball, the Spectre, Purple Hammer 16, 17, and the 2 motive, the Jackals. That's the only 4 balls I know. Do you know any more from the past?
No, I mean that's the well. Here's the thing, that's the only balls that have been like revoked or excluded, however you want to call it. If you look on the USBC list, there are a list of not approved bowling balls. So there is a little bit of a larger list of bowling balls that didn't get approved, but they got caught in the approval process. So it wasn't like they were actually released and then pulled off. They never even got to be released.
Okay. But for example, a Helix is no more possible to get approved, right?
See, that's a great one. Helix is a great one. I don't think with the current rules, Helix would be approved. I actually asked USBC that, and they said that they would have to have a meeting to discuss that. But I don't think in its current form, Quantum Helix would be approved with the current rules.
You think so? It would approve?
I don't think it would be approved. Yep, I don't think it would be approved.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think so too. It will not get approved because of the 2 materials.
Correct.
And there's a hardness. That's also the same problem with hardness, right? Because urethane different than the reactive. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is different. You know, it's interesting. I have a Quantum Helix in my office. I ought to go do the hardness check on both the urethane and the reactive. That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, because I have one also here, undrilled with the original box and everything. So that's my treasure. Hamburg once per. Yeah, there are a lot of centers right now who just put out free-fall pins and put in the string pins because of the energy thing. That's also a big thing here at the moment. So now wenn ihr irgendwelche Fragen habt, lieber Chat, einfach reinhauen. Ich werde versuchen, das zu beantworten. Und natürlich liken nicht vergessen und abonnieren nicht vergessen. So now we come to creating the difference. So tell us some secrets. What are the new products?
Well, we're always working on new things. You know, right now, we've got a focus on a few different products. We're going to do some more stuff with our True Cut product line, the sanding pads. We're also working on a device that can actually tell people about what the grid is on their bowling ball too. So we're working on that as well. But overall, I would say we'll probably have another product probably in a month, and then you'll see probably 2 more products in the next 3 or 4 months after that.
Okay, so your newest product is pretty much the Life After Death. So that's that's a combination of 2 products. So tell us more about this product.
Yeah, so Life After Death is actually our best and most aggressive cleaning product that we make. It basically, we took some of the technology that we learned from So Fresh, So Clean, which has a ball life extender in it. We took some of the technology that we learned from Purple Stuff and Wow Factor Ball Cleaner, and we really came up with a very unique product that does 3 things to your bowling ball. First, it cleans the bowling ball. Second, it leaves a microscopic layer on the bowling ball, and that microscopic layer helps to prevent the dirt and dust and oil from sticking to the bowling ball the next time. So it actually helps to keep your bowling ball cleaner. And then last but not least, because it has an additive called Tackify in it, it is a much more efficient ball life extender than even our So Fresh So Clean product. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds, ball cleaner and life extender. And we've got a lot of videos showing, it working, a lot of comparison videos, because the technology that we're using in that product is very, very different than all of the other technologies that exist in bowling when it comes to cleaning products. And that's what makes this product very unique. And we've been very happy with the success of that product in our domestic market so far.
So, yeah, the people will order this soon through our online shop, so we will get it soon. And so then when you say something, okay, we learned from the experience, purpose stuff, wow factor, the so fresh and so clean. So does the new product, what was the name? Life After Death, now makes so fresh and so clean and wow factor just, you don't need it?
Yeah, so basically, if you have Life After Death, you don't need those other products because this is an improvement on those. Essentially, the way to look at it too is like this. So basically, all ball cleaning products kind of rely on solvents. In one way or another, they rely on solvents to do the cleaning. Life After Death doesn't rely on solvents. It uses a completely different way to clean a bowling ball, and that's why it's so different. That's also why it can replace these other products. It's just a very unique way to clean a bowling ball, and we've done lots of comparison videos where people have cleaned their bowling ball with whatever product, and then we clean it after they've cleaned it with Life After Death and pull off more dirt because it cleans completely different. Basically, what we're doing is we actually attack the bottom. Which makes it easy to get it off. Whereas a solvent doesn't do that, right? A solvent's trying to wipe those off. Whereas this product actually attacks them, and that allows you to be able to get much more dirt off your ball. We also sell it with a scuff mark remover, which is probably the ultimate product in terms of being able to get off any of those, stubborn black marks or the rubber that comes from the backstop sometimes, any of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, this product. And people say, well, why would you do that? Why would you make a product that would kind of help hurt some of your other products? But the goal there, for our standpoint, is to make the best product possible for the consumer. So if we know of technology or can develop technology that's better than what we currently do, then we're going to do that.
Yeah, and if you don't do it, somebody else finds it out.
That's correct.
That's so, and yeah, I think it's pretty interesting because creating the difference means you want to do something different than what we do the last 30-40 years in the industry. So, and I really have my eyes on your education thing, on your YouTube videos, on what you do. We stay in touch regularly, so I really like the way you treat things, and it's a good thing.
Thank you.
So Daniel asked a question to the Helix again. He asked, isn't it allowed to combine two different materials on the cover stock? So he actually means that you have to have the ball in one material, the whole thing. That's what he said. So it's not allowed to have the urethane stripe and then put the reactive outside. That's what the USBC will say. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. The current rules would not allow that to be the case. So definitely, when I asked them about that, and they said they'd happen. I said, my question was, what would happen if Brunswick remade the Helix? That was my question, and they said they'd have to have a media pop.
So, but back in the time in the 90s, that was a pretty smart thing, actually. The Helix.
It was very expensive, right? It was very expensive to do that. So, it ultimately it didn't lead enough of a benefit to catch on for them to keep doing it. I think they did two balls. They did a Helix and they did
the second Helix.
Double Helix, yeah. Blue and red.
Yeah, that was the blue and red, and the white and gold, the black and gold was the first one.
Yep.
Yeah. So now one thing what is interesting to me, what are your top 5 bowling balls right now on the market?
Top 5 for me right now, in no particular order, would be Zen. I like 3D Offset, Widow. I like Purple Tank, and then Purple Hammer. Right, those were probably my 5.
So Purple Tank, Purple Hammer, Zen.
Widow and 3D Offset.
3D Offset, and what was the other one?
Black Widow.
Black Widow. The Ghost or the 2.0?
No, I like 2.0 better than Ghost.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. That's a but it's pretty much the tank isn't really urethane. It's the polyethylene again, right?
Correct. I think the way I look at it is it's reactive. And what I tell people is if your rev rate is less than 450, then probably get a purple tank. If it's more than 450, then probably get a purple hammer.
Okay. What do you think about the UC3?
UC3 is good. Same thing. It would fall into that same category as purple tank.
Okay. Franz, zu deiner Frage. Der Helix wurde so gemacht, dass zuerst ein Urethanstreifen von so einer Breite ungefähr gegossen wurde, von so 5 cm. Und da drumherum wurde dann ein Reaktivmaterial gegossen. Das heißt, es gab 2 komplett verschiedene Materialien. Bei dem Hybridball wird das alles in einen Guss und dann wird er komplett gegossen. Das ist der Unterschied. Ja, so, irgendwelche Fragen aus dem Chat, die ihr gerne im Ron stellen wollt. So I just asked if they have any questions they just want to ask. And I really like the gem right now. It's a pretty interesting ball because it's especially when it's get a little drier. It's fantastic. It keeps energy. That's different than other balls who just at the end.
Right.
Yeah. So, I think. Oh, that's an interesting question. I pretty much know what you will say. So, what do you think is the best bowler at the moment?
The best ball out on the market right now?
Bowler, yeah.
Oh, bowler.
Yeah.
Oh, so I mean that's tricky, right? So obviously Belmo is the best, but and I say but because I believe that Simo probably has more upside, more potential. And I only say that because Belmo would like when he is in his zone, nobody's beating him. It's just not gonna happen. Simo, he can create things to work to his advantage that other bowlers can't, including Belmo. I mean, when you look at like when he can throw the backup ball, when you look at like some of the things that he has done and does do on TV at his age, man, he's got a lot of upside, bro.
He can make it happen. Yeah, that's a good thing. What do you think? One-handed?
EJ.
Yeah.
EJ's having a phenomenal year.
Yeah, that's pretty much the complete 3 guys, I would assume, and I see it the exact same way. I think Simo is like 10 years younger than Belmo. He has a huge future, and he's already in a Hall of Fame career. So he's already in with like 24, 25. I don't know how old Simo is. And and he will, as Belmo wrote the other day on social media, he will get mine 14. So I have to keep going and have to get more titles. And he's right. And one-handed, I don't see anyone better than EJ at the moment.
Correct.
And but there are also guys like AJ Johnson. He's so good, but he can't manage to win.
Only a matter of time, right? If you get there enough, if you get to the championship match enough, eventually you will win. So I think it's just a matter of time for him. And then once it happens, it'll probably come in waves. That happened with EJ, if you remember. EJ started off really slow too. He had a tough time winning, but once he started to win, man, the floodgates kind of opened up for him too.
Yeah, it was the same back it's like 20 years ago with Tommy Jones. He started his first couple of years, then he won like the fastest guy who won 10 titles, and then he didn't won for 10 years, and then back again for a couple of titles. And Jesper was pretty much the same. When Jesper came out, he won like everything, then nothing, and now he's in between now. Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. So, lieber Chat, ich würde sagen, das war's. Ich werde jetzt nochmal das Wort an Ron übergeben. Wenn ihr noch Fragen habt, haut's in die Kommentare. Ich werde es dann beantworten. Ich werde es Ron weiterschicken. So Ron, I think we're pretty much okay now. We are done. I really appreciate that you come to a show. Remember at one point Jason Belmonte was the best player who has never won a major. He lost so many and now he's the best. Yeah, that's true. That's can you imagine if he would win every major television show? He would have like 30 titles.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, Ron, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being here again after 2 years. Hopefully next time will not take 2 years. And hopefully there will be no new scandal in bowling. Just be as it is, or get better. Pretty much, we are all working on the same side. And do you want to say something?
No, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the group and the people on the live stream. And yes, look forward to talking to you some more again. And yes, we won't wait 2 years this time, and we won't have to worry about having any more scandals anytime soon. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be great. So, thank you very much for being here. Vielen Dank, liebe Leute, dass ihr zugeschaut habt. Ich hoffe, euch hat es gefallen. Am Dienstag werden wir alles nochmal durchgehen, was wir heute gemacht haben. Und ich wünsche euch jetzt einen wundervollen Abend und sage Tschüss, bye bye und bis zum nächsten Mal. Bis Dienstag, 20 Uhr. Tschüss.
Bye bye.